They say they crave softness. They say they admire empathy, vulnerability, tenderness. But watch how fast they flinch when you stop folding to fit their comfort. Watch how quickly admiration turns to discomfort the moment your voice carries too much stillness, too much control. Because respect was never born from how gentle you were. It's born from how impossible you become to predict. It's born from how deeply your calm unsettles the room. You don't get respected because you're easy to love. You get respected when your presence says, "You'll have to earn the right to understand me." Let's tell the truth, nobody wants to say out loud. They don't respect what they understand. They respect what they can't control. Your predictability is a map, a blueprint. It makes you safe. And safety, while comforting, is rarely admired. But when your kindness carries restraint, when your emotions arrive like controlled weather systems, not thunderstorms, they'll pause, they'll watch. And in that pause, a new kind of respect begins. Because you're not cold, you're composed. You're not hostile, you're unreadable. And the unreadable mind is the one people fear the most, because they can't see it coming. You don't teach people how to treat you by being endlessly available. You train them in silence, in absence, in selective access. You stop rewarding proximity and start rewarding discernment. Who gets your truth? Who only gets your performance? Decide. That decision is your power. That power is what recalibrates the dynamic. Most people spend their lives begging to be understood. You won't. You'll become something they spend nights trying to interpret. The ones who respect you most will be the ones who've never fully figured you out. You speak less, and your pauses speak more. You watch them fumble in the quiet after your sentences end mid-thought, wondering what you left unsaid, and if it was about them. You let them chase closure while you sit in peace, because the moment they feel they've figured you out, they stop trying. But when they never quite know where they stand, they become intentional, strategic, respectful. They start monitoring themselves, not because you force them to, but because your silence holds a mirror to their performance. You've become the judge they imagine even when you're not in the room. Ever notice how people try harder for those who give them less? That's not manipulation. That's precision. Your approval is rare, so it's sacred. Your presence is limited, so it's intoxicating. You become what they both crave and fear, a controlled variable in their emotional ecosystem. You shift the temperature of a room just by walking in, not because you demand attention, but because you radiate something they can't quite decode. Stillness that stings, silence that demands an interpretation, and in that ambiguity, respect flourishes. You're no longer playing by their script. You've become the editor of the dynamic. You vanish mid-argument. You withhold not to punish, but to preserve the integrity of your space. You exit when explanations are expected, and your absence becomes a loudest statement in the room. People respect the ones who could erupt, but don't. Who could beg, but won't. Who could explain, but choose the sharper route, the unanswered question. You don't need to punish disrespect. You vanish, and your absence rearranges their emotional architecture. It teaches in ways words never could. They'll start counting your silences, measuring your reactions, reading into your expressions like ancient scrolls. Because everything you give is a clue, but never a full story. You don't fight for space. You become the space others have to adapt to. You're not emotional gravity. You're the atmosphere, unseen but inescapable. They adjust to you or they lose access. And that's the real secret. You never make them chase you. You let them realize you're already gone. They say respect has to be earned, but no one tells you how. Here's how. You become the variable that makes others recalibrate. You become the person whose affection isn't assumed but chased. You are not consistent, you are deliberate. Not chaotic, but calculated. Think of this. When was the last time someone made you rethink your entire tone just to keep their attention? That's not power rooted in fear. That's power rooted in perception. You don't raise your voice. You don't defend your value. You create environments where your silence makes others question theirs. They only truly respect you when they realize you don't need them to understand you. You don't even need them to agree with you, because your sense of self is unshakable. They can shout, guilt, sulk, but you stay still, not from apathy, but from authority. You become a weather system they can't forecast, and it unsettles their nervous system in the best way. You show them that access to you has conditions, that your presence isn't a default, it's a decision, and that decision is constantly being reevaluated. They begin to perform better, not to impress you, but to maintain proximity to you. Your approval becomes a currency they earn, not a favor they expect. Give fragments of warmth, then pull back. Let them sit with the echo of your laughter. Let your compliments come like rare alignments of stars, stunning, brief, unforgettable. The most powerful people don't impose their standards. They create gravity fields others conform to. You are not their judge. You are the hidden standard their subconscious tries to meet, and you let them work for it. This is how respect is forged, not in loud declarations, but in unspoken terms. In the quiet demand that they grow just to be near you. When they're with you, they reflect more on themselves than on you, because you have become a mirror for both their ambition and their insecurity. They don't fear your rage. They fear your indifference. Anger is easy to trigger. Cold detachment isn't. They'll sense that your love is not a flood. It's a drought broken by choice, and that each drop is earned. People think respect comes from dominance, but dominance burns out. Respect rooted in subtle ambiguity? That lingers. That etches itself into people's self-concept. You don't need to give more. You need to give less, more artfully, more strategically. You control the temperature. You decide when to pull them closer and when to make distance the lesson. When they feel like they're finally close, shift slightly. Just enough. That half second of doubt? That's where respect sharpens. You're not their goal, you're their measure. They begin to view your silence as conversation. Your mood becomes ritual. They show up emotionally dressed for your weather because they don't want to lose access, not just to you, but to how they feel about themselves when they're near you. And that is your leverage. This isn't manipulation. This is design. Respect is a psychological ecosystem, and you've become the force it orbits around. You're no longer just a person, you're an experience. You're a puzzle they're desperate to solve, but terrified to complete. Because completion means predictability, and predictability breeds neglect. You are the myth they want to live in, the exception they want to earn. And when they realize they can't crack the code, they keep trying anyway, because your silence feels like a test, and passing it feels like transcendence. You've made your respect so rare, so intentional, that disrespecting you feels like self-betrayal. They'll never admit it, but they admire the boundary. They fear it too. That's the balance. That's the magic. And when you walk away calm, elegant, unreadable, they'll hear every unsaid word echo louder than anything you could have screamed. That emptiness will haunt them. That absence will teach them, because in the end, they'll realize It wasn't your presence that demanded their respect. It was the possibility of losing you that made it unforgettable. You didn't become respected by taking up space. You became respected by teaching them what silence can cost. Let that linger. Let them wonder. Let them chase a version of you they'll never fully reach. That's power. That's psychology. That's the art of respect.